I'm saying I don't know where it came from. Maybe that was it. Yeah, but I used to be very, very meticulous about that.
Okay.
And over time, I still do find that I have to strike a balance between investing, because I'm an angel investment now. I have a portfolio of over 30 companies that I've put money into investing in founders. Yeah.
Okay, so you had this, first of all, did that column do anything for you?
Yes, that's why I like to say that you can eat exposure.
You can what?
You can eat exposure. You know, now there's a very common thing saying you can't eat exposure. How are you paid exposure? Then everybody laughs. Because there's this idea, especially if you're a young person, that you shouldn't work for free. There's nothing I disagree with more.
Oh,
in fact, when you're young, no, this one I'm going all the way. Because when you're young, you don't have money. You might not have skills, right? But you have time and you have energy. And that's what you have to bring to the table, right? Other people might not have those things later. So what do you do with that time and energy is you put yourself in front of people who might sometimes even have the ability to change your life. They see the song you've sang, they read the thing you've written, and that brings opportunity to you. So don't insist that I must be paid this much for this speech I'm doing right now. Just make sure you're on that stage and you don't know who it is who's going to see you. This has worked in my life. That's why I'm quite committed to this idea. When I had that column, I had a column on real estate. I came to be seen as a real estate expert. I got a lot of people approaching me because of that. But if I had insisted that the particular column itself had to pay me a certain amount every month, otherwise I won't do it, I would have missed out on all of that. But later it set me up for many, many other opportunities later. And that rule has played out in many, many areas of my life. Just be at the table. If you have the energy and the time, you go and be there when things are being decided, and you never know what that might bring for you. The other thing with starting organizations, especially in the short run, that's why I said it's not forever, but in the beginning, people are not going to pay you. Remember, we talked about risk allocation. They might not pay you if they don't know what work you do. So sometimes you've just got to take a chance and say, from my business development risk, I'm taking a risk. It's true I might not be paid, but there's a small chance that these people will see how excellent I am. And from there, then they'll invest in me and we can start having a relationship. But if you keep everything close to your chest and you feel like being underpaid even once is somehow, I even don't like it when people say being paid what I'm worth. Because once you get a certain figure in your mind, it means you reduce your flexibility. If the economy goes down, you want to know that you're able to ride the waves, but you can't insist on the market paying you something when even those people who are paying you are also subject to ups and downs. Because when you speak with that rigidity, it's almost like you're assuming that other people have control over their entire ecosystem and environment, but everybody is just trying. That's what I tell people. So you try and be flexible, you try and be able to upshift and downshift. Always make it so that you can work for free if you want. Don't tie yourself up where you even reduce opportunities because you're so rigid in the way you think about what an opportunity is. But this is also linked to my philosophy around vocation, which is a whole other conversation. Because I believe you're on this earth to do a purpose.
Yes.
You're here to do something. And whether when you're doing that work, it's paid or not paid, it doesn't change the level at which I do that thing and the commitment with which I do that thing. So that's what now can complicate things. Because if you're thinking that this job is a job as an end in itself, you have a very different attitude than when you're saying, my vocation in life is to unleash prosperity for Africans and Kenyans. If you do that, then it means whether or not I'm volunteering in an NGO on the board, or whether or not I'm being paid millions to be somewhere else, all of that is advancing my mission. So I don't worry so much about the title or the role. I always say it's substance over form. So it's what is the work am I doing? Is it advancing my mission? Then from there, what the title is and how it's working. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day, the jigsaw doesn't have to work so you have an income, but you shouldn't make it so that income becomes a barrier to you going where you're going, where it becomes a showstopper. Yeah.
Wow. You can eat exposure.
You can certainly eat exposure. Without exposure, you might never eat. So just get exposure.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay. Just, you've spoken so, I would like to know from you, this is a left field question because 2024 I've been having a lot of financial conversations, and this word portfolio came up in mind, the different people that I have been speaking with, it's a concept that I'd never had or understood, and now that I'm actively participating in. At this time of life, when you're at this 2008, do you have this financial knowledge of do you even know what a portfolio is? What's your financial literacy at that time? I'm talking about, you get?
At that time.
Yeah.
So what I would say, so the portfolio has very many different ways you can look at it.
Yes.
So people are talking now a lot more about portfolio careers, which they didn't before. I don't know if you've heard that.
Oh, nice.
Yes. You know, usually we think of it as the investment portfolio, right? So for sure, no matter what age you are, if you have an income, you must always be setting aside something to invest. So you must save. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
I have learned a lot about this being in Kenya as opposed to being in the US. I've noticed that there's people who are very skilled in finding their level in Kenya. What do I mean by this? You'll find somebody who has a very low income, maybe somebody you would consider maybe an unskilled worker. And you find that they're putting away money, they're taking care of their family. And yet, then you find somebody who's making 10 times that, maybe 300K as opposed to 30K, and they can't make ends meet, and it's a single guy. Then you find out that on weekends he's partying with his friends and he drops 30K a night on drinks or something. And that person then starts saying, I can't make it in this country, things are not fine, he's getting all sad. But then when you compare the two people, you start to realize that it's about the attitude with which you look at that salary. I've also seen that there's, and again, I'm generalizing grossly, I know that there's nuances to this, but in general, as a principle, I have found that there's people who are very deliberate about when they look at their money, they look at it with honor and they start to allocate it because something is better than nothing and they work like that. I've also seen some young people who I've spoken about who don't want to start small. They despise small beginnings. So I heard somebody saying the other day, Syokimau. Like I start in Syokimau, I buy a plot in Syokimau. I mean, they're looking, yet that's an asset. And that's an asset that will appreciate, which you combine with other assets later. But you don't waste your money today because you're not able to get it to whatever neighborhood it is you think is worthy of you. And these simple principles can be so foundational in whether you get off to a good start. And there's also people who resent SACCOs. They don't want to combine with others and save every month. They find it too pedestrian or too normal. Yet, those people, SACCOs and collective saving can be powerful.
Yep.
So what you do is you say, I'm saving in this part, I have insurance in this part, my real estate portfolio is starting today at the level at which I can do it, and over time you build, and time is powerful. If you just stick with it and you stay faithful to that, it will reward you. But if you start resenting and saying it's too little for me to do anything, let me waste it, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I have seen a lot of that. I have been shocked by some of the things that people do with a salary at whatever level. They're able to do very powerful things. But you really do need to work on your mindset.
For you, where was your mindset from when you came back to Kenya?
Well, with my case, I've had a lot of discipline from when I was very young with saving and counting. In fact, now I've had to relax a bit. I used to know every single shilling and where it goes.
You didn't pay your school fees.
Yeah, I had to be. That's true. Maybe that's where it came from. I'm saying I don't know where it came from. Maybe that was it. Yeah, but I used to be very, very meticulous about that.
Okay.
And over time, I still do find that I have to strike a balance between investing, because I'm an angel investment now. I have a portfolio of over 30 companies that I've put money into, investing in founders. Yeah.
Come into that conversation a bit later.
Yeah. So the thing with that, though, is remember we said that in your portfolio you have to think about some of it is saving, where you're just keeping money and maybe buying treasury bills or something, or fixed deposit. Then there's insurance. That's part of the portfolio, right? Because how do you make sure you don't lose it all?
Yes.
Then there's things that are investment, that look forward, that are optimistic, and you're putting money into things that could become very big. But balancing that with this other side that is more hedging, that is more about making sure that you're safe for the future, that balance is not very easy. And sometimes you can lean too much on one. So it is risky not investing. Like just saving, right? Because you're trying to beat inflation, and you're trying to not just beat inflation, but get a good return for your labor.
Make the money work for you.
Yeah, at the same time, you don't want to be putting money into schemes where everything is about investment and I might get things. Again, of course, there's different levels of investment. Some are safer than others, but you really need to balance your risk and reward. So with me, if you look at my portfolio today, it's very diverse, including some real estate. But then I still think that over time, if you asked me, I think for me, if I was to lean, I should lean more towards the safer side.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has their comfort, but with me, because I'm an investor, I tend to see Kenya. Yeah, yes, Kenya is going to get better. I know the population is growing. Let me invest. Yeah.
From again, left field conversation. Then we come to after election. From a wealth perspective, when is enough enough? Is enough ever enough? Is it the money that's the driver? Is it the chasing that? You get what I mean?
I really get what you mean. This is such an important conversation. So I know what's enough for me. And if you don't know what enough is, it can really set you up for a downfall. Because we said, you know, you have a mission in life, and I'm not saying it's a grand mission, like it's written somewhere and there's only one way to do it. Like for me, broadly, it's to increase prosperity in Kenya and Africa, right? And I love the idea of second chances and giving people opportunities to thrive. I do that by creating jobs through investment and finance, and I do that through skilling. Those are the two areas in which I'm going to help people get to a point where they can get to prosperity, right? That's my general goal in life, right? So alongside that, I would like to have enough wealth that I'm able to do that, but also starting from taking care of my family and then being able to fulfill my mission.
Okay.
But if you look at those two things, I don't know that I need to own half of Nairobi to pull that off, right? And I don't have to take so much because I'm afraid that others are taking what I have, right? So there's a balance there where you have to decide what is enough. And sometimes you've actually hit your enough, but because you didn't look and you didn't calculate and you weren't thoughtful, you're still acquiring in a very feverish way, right? So we really want to get people to a point where we are all more calm and you're also able to be grateful of the wins you've made. If you always have a vanishing goalposts, it's always moving, you'll never get to a place where you have contentment or gratitude and you can move on to the next thing. Yeah. So with me, in my case, I've thought...
Wow, you've just said something. Contentment and gratitude, it's like they're related in an essence.
They say, instead of always chasing what you want, strive to want what you have. It's powerful.
It is.
Because if you want what you have, then you get to that enough more quickly, right? Because you could have the dream wife, but if you're not looking at her that way, you're always looking for something else, or the house, or when maybe, if you look at the way the sun streams into your house in the morning, if you look at the tree across the road, you're like, wow, this place is beautiful. I love the house I live in. Look at this family. You might find you're closer to enough than you thought, right? Or if you're not already there, you're not far, right? Whereas if you keep looking on YouTube at how Beyonce is living.
Or social media.
Or social media. So those are, that can really help with peace of mind.
So we would just say that again. They say?
Instead of trying to have what you want, how about working on wanting what you have?
That is a moment for you to ponder. Let that sink in. We're coming back in a few.